Hi, everyone. I'm Cheralyn Berry, and welcome to my weekly office hours, our little food nerd talks. I wanted to do this for those of you who weren't here last week. Sort of the intro every week will be to let everyone know that the reason that we're doing a fun little conversation on Zoom is that my program is Seed to Table. And so I teach people how to cook food and how to grow food. Still teaching people how to grow food at Briggs Avenue Community Garden. So feel free to ask any questions about that. But because we can't do our culinary classes, I wanted to bring you some sort of fun food and nutrition information every week. And you can ask me any questions that you have about, you know, whatever food we're going to talk about today, or any other food questions that you may have. So, you know, if you're going about your week and, you know, you come across a vegetable you don't recognize or something, or, you know, you have any other kind of food question, you can always save it for these talks and please bring it up. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the snack we're going to have today. So this is a lychee. And this is one of my favorite tropical fruits out there. But when I was in the store buying them, I thought, you know what? I can't talk about a lychee without talking about a rambutan, because I mean, they're like, this one's, you know, like the little shaved one, and this guy's like its really hairy brother. So they're related. And then there's another one that's kind of like the nondescript cousin called a longan. And we're going to talk about these today, but this is really the one that I think is the most exciting. So just so you know, lychee for my visual learners, rambutan, the hairy one, and longan, the kind of like, wah, wah, not as good, but still in the family fruit. Okay, so all three of these guys grow in the tropics. So you might get the question, oh, you know, do these grow here? I think, you know, I know in southern Florida, California, and Hawaii, they can grow these, but especially the lychee is native to China. And in the 15th, 16th, and 17th century, it spread all over the place through Arab traders. They were really amazing at taking things down the spice road and trading all kinds of things, not just spices, but plant material like seeds and cuttings and things like that, so that this could be grown. So let me show you the inside of a lychee. So you cut it open. I'll show you how to eat them. They're so delicious. So here's my lychee. And all you do is grab the skin and peel it. Ooh, it's real juicy. Watch out. Get some in your eye. And then bite into it, and there's a seed. This is technically a drupe. So a drupe is a botanical name for a fruit with like one solid seed in it, like an olive is an example of that, or a cherry or an apricot. Those are all technically drupes. And so this hard little seed right here is not edible. Some people have eaten them. Like if you Google this fruit, some stuff might come up. There was a bunch of kids in, I can't remember if it's India or Malaysia in the late 90s, that when these are ripe in the summer, went out and ate thousands of them and ended up getting really sick from hypoglycemia because they weren't eating other food. But that's not going to happen to you. Don't worry. Like, these are perfectly fine and delicious. The seed does not taste good. I've tried it and it's very bitter. So, but these are really fun if you can get these canned, or you can get them dried. And actually, when they're canned, the pit is gone. And so the pit and the peel. So it just is this like almost pocket of creamy white flesh. And I've seen people freeze those and pop a blueberry into them, and then at Halloween float them in a punch bowl. They look like eyeballs. It's so gross, but they're delicious and really good for you. So if you're doing like a fruit punch for kids, you can do these like horrifying fruit garnishes. If they're thawed, they'll actually sink to the bottom of a cup or the bowl, and it's kind of fun and gross to have one of these like at the bottom of like a paper cup and someone's drinking it on Halloween and like, ah, and they're horrified, but it's actually really delicious and good for you. So that's the lychee. Let me show you the inside of the rambutan. So this is our buddy, the rambutan. And actually this morning, one of the librarians that comes down here to do our Durham Tech food pantry distribution, which is going on right now in our office as we speak, saw these and said, "What is that? It looks like a strawberry that forgot to shave." I laughed so hard. It's so cute. These look like they'd be spiky and hard and awful, but they're actually really soft. So this one is just at the peak of its ripeness, because the hairs are starting to turn black. If all the hairs are black, it's too ripe and it's not really good anymore. You'll also see some of them have kind of like orange yellow hairs. You know, they're just interesting little fruit. So you can cut the skin. You can see that the seed is like a cling seed. It actually clings onto the flesh when you peel it off. These are equally delicious. They taste really similar. This flesh on the outside tastes similar to a lychee, not quite as fragrant as you know, because the lychee has like a rosy fragrance to it almost, and like a tropical flavor with floral notes in it. This one is not as floral, but I don't like it as much because this cling on the seed is like kind of chewy. So, but I still love them. If there's no lychees and then there's these, I will buy them. But you know, my favorite, if I choose between the two, is definitely the lychee. So, so the way that kids eat these in the tropics, they're usually like in Hawaii. All of these guys are coming, especially these guys are coming off of the trees May to June. So you just take this and you bite into it to break it, and then you just peel it. And there you go. And then you pop it in your mouth and you eat all the flesh off and spit out the pit. So, okay, let's talk about longan. Poor little guy. Like, he's good, he's tasty, but it's like the difference between like a banana and then a candy banana. It's like really sweet and delicious, but it doesn't have like the super tropical and floral notes that the other two do. So when you cut it in half, this is what it looks like. And often when you buy these guys, pretty much all of these fruits that we've talked about, but definitely when you buy the longans, you'll see them on like, they cut them, the way you harvest them is you cut the stems off the tree. And so they'll be in like a bunch of stems with the fruit on them, kind of looks like a bunch of kind of natural looking lollipops. So that's usually how you'll find these. And in order to find these, if you wanted to buy them and try them, you can go to Asian markets primarily, because all of these are native to Asia and have moved around the world to tropical areas. You're almost always going to find these in international markets that cater to an Asian population. So you can almost always find these, at least when they're seasonal, they're highly seasonal. So, so yeah, and all of these are rich in vitamin C, trace minerals, and fiber. But that's about it. So, but I mean, they're still very delicious and good for you. Some people even say that, like some people will actually eat the pit of the rambutan. They say the rambutan pit is edible. These are not edible, but these are edible. I've never tried one. I'll have to try it for you and see what I think. But apparently it's a good source of protein, just like any nut would be. So let me give you the pretty good. It's a little bit bitter at the end, but kind of like a raw almond. Not too bad. Not to say that I would buy it for the seeds. I'd definitely buy it for the fruit, but you know, why waste? So does anybody have any questions about any of these little fruits here?
So it looks like our first question is, can we grow one of those trees here?
Oh, I wish we could. So they don't tolerate any frost. I really wish we could. If you had a greenhouse and you wanted to keep the tree really small, you absolutely could grow one. But really, I would think, I mean, if you were going to grow one anywhere, it would probably be in the coastal plain. Like most tropical fruit trees, they tend to like sort of acidic soils that drain well. And that's definitely our coast. There's some that can survive down to 25 degrees, but basically they need between 100 and 200 chill hours. And chill hours are the time that a tree needs between 35 and 45 degrees to set fruit. So apples need chill hours, peaches, cherries, all these different kinds of fruits, they need chill hours. It can't be below freezing. That's not a chill hour. It has to be between 35 and 45 degrees. And so these guys need, you know, about 100 to 200 chill hours, and being on the coast, that would be possible. But if we had a hard freeze, like a hard freeze, unless the tree was really well established, it would die. So, but I think like coastal Georgia, definitely pretty much anywhere in Florida, it could grow. But primarily where you find these is Southern Florida, Hawaii, and Southern California. Those are the areas. It's about the only places that they grow. But I'm sure like coastal Louisiana, oh my gosh, it'd be so easy to grow this. It never freezes there. So it's just kind of unknown. And I think the reason that it has a larger following in places like Hawaii and California is because those places actually have a higher Asian population than say Louisiana. So so that's why people would seek this, because there's actually a market, a local market for it. Oh, another thing I wanted to say about this fruit, another term I wanted you to know is that these are not climacteric. So climacteric is when you pick something when it's unripe and it ripens over time. So like a green banana, you could pick a green banana, you leave it on your countertop, it starts to gas ethylene gas, which is not dangerous. That's just, you know, that's why they say stick a banana in with an avocado in a paper bag and it'll ripen faster. That's the ethylene gas. Those are climacteric fruits, and they put off ethylene gas, and they can influence each other if, you know, one is next to the other. So avocados, another one, you pick them hard and they turn soft. Melons, musk melons, like honeydew and cantaloupe, those are climacteric. You can pick them when they're a little bit hard and they'll ripen on your countertop. Not climacteric fruits are like watermelons. If you pick a watermelon before it's ripe and you put it on your countertop, it's just going to be a terrible tasting watermelon. There's certain fruits you have to pick at the peak of their ripeness, because they're not going to ripen once you have them. They won't get any sweeter and more delicious. And this family of fruits, they're not climacteric. You have to pick them when they're ripe. That's why they're so expensive, is because birds love them too. And you have to pick them ripe off the vine. So not the vine, the tree. So that's why they're a little bit expensive, but I think they're well worth it. So climacteric, word of the day.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll remember that. We may have to write it down for vocabulary word.
Hold on.
We have a lot of questions today, so I'm going to just dig in. Can you put them in baked goods?
You could. Hold on. Climacteric. Vocabulary word of the day.
Oh, climacteric.
Okay. So the only way that you could probably bake with these is if you dried them. They're like a grape. So if you wouldn't bake with a grape, but you would bake with a raisin. So you can dry these, and they are chewy like raisins, but they taste totally differently. And you could absolutely use them in baked goods. I would probably, if I were, if I had a tree of these and I wanted to dry a bunch of them, I would probably squish them to get some of the juice out of them, because the juice is delicious too, and then put them in a dehydrator and dry them. Maybe if you have a friend in Southern Florida that has a tree, that's about the only way you would do that. But you can buy them dried and canned in international grocery stores.
Great. So the next two are kind of similar. I guess this one's kind of similar. Can they be cooked or only eaten raw?
No, you can definitely cook them too. Some people will, I don't know, like, I guess you could probably stew them. Like some people will, stew pears or braise pears in wine or cider or something like that. You probably could do that, because they do have a lot of fiber. They do hold together really well. You could probably hot pack them, like heat them and hot pack them for canning as well. But I mean, most times when people cook fruit, they're baking it like into a dessert or something. And I wouldn't recommend, it's so juicy, just like you wouldn't do like a grape cobbler. You're not going to use this in a cobbler. You probably dry it before you put it in a baked good. Or, here's another fun way to eat these, especially the lychees, these guys. If you pop these in the freezer whole like this, and then you take them out and peel them when it's cold outside, it's like eating tropical sorbet. Oh, also another one, really refreshing, if you've never had frozen grapes That's another awesome treat, an awesome summer treat. Just be careful giving these to little kids, just like with grapes, because they can be a choking hazard. So, but yeah, if you freeze grapes, oh my gosh, or these are just so delicious when it's ripping hot outside. It's like nature's popsicle. It's fantastic.
And this is a similar question to that. Have you tried them in smoothies?
In smoothies, ooh, that would actually be really good. I have not, but I bet they'd be fantastic. I like smoothies with all different kinds of fruit in it, except bananas. I worked on a banana farm for a while, and I still cannot eat bananas. I ate so many bananas. It's not really a thing for me. But pretty much all the other fruits I love in it, and I think this probably would be excellent. Maybe if you bought them already frozen. Smoothie tip: if you pre-freeze your fruit and use that instead of fresh fruit and ice, it's like liquid ice cream or liquid sorbet or something. It's awesome. So, but this probably wouldn't be good. It's just they're like $6 a pound, and especially like half of it, the weight of it is the seed and the peel. I tend to just eat them right when I get them. I buy them, and then within 24 hours, they're gone out of my fridge because they're so delicious and refreshing. But if you live somewhere, even when, like I lived in Hawaii for a few years, and they were like still $5 a pound, because trees don't bear that great every year. You know, unless you live in a major like lychee producing region, you're probably not going to be doing a lot of preservation of these because they're kind of pricey. But yes, you absolutely could freeze them, put them in smoothies, all of that, definitely.
And then a similar one, are there any recipes we could use them in as a main ingredient or garnish sauce?
You could substitute them for grapes. I know that. I would probably, like, rather than making them into a sauce, I would probably just remove the flesh and chop it up. There's a coconut rice pudding that I make with black forbidden rice, but you can do it with any kind of rice. You just pre-cook whatever leftover rice that you have, as long as it doesn't have any like chicken broth or anything in it. And then, you know, you get like maybe 3 cups of that rice, put it in a pan, throw in a can of coconut milk and a little sugar and vanilla, and stir it until it's nice and creamy. Black forbidden rice is awesome because it's a black food, and that's rare in our diet. It's actually deep purple. And when you pour the coconut milk in and you make the sauce, it's bright purple. It's amazing. Anyway, but you can do it with any kind of rice: white rice, red rice, brown rice. Anyway, you stir that in, and then it's like this delicious tropical flavor, and then you put tropical fruit on top. So I usually do like chopped kiwi, chopped mango. This would be excellent on something like that, to cut this up and chop it up for sure. But I don't know that I'd make a sauce out of it because it is so juicy that it's any kind of thing that you would like include a grape in. This is similar.
So building on that, we have 2 different people asking, one, can you make it into a jam? And one, can you make it into a jelly?
Yes. So since it's so juicy, you know, usually a jelly is going to be made with juice. So you could just buy lychee juice and make jelly out of it, because jelly is juice. And then if you're going to use more of the whole fruit, you know, I would have to look on the National Center for Home Food Preservation and see which one would be most like this. So you could cook it down, and then you're going to add pectin to it and sugar, and it's pretty acidic, but you're going to add the lemon juice that they say to add. If you are going to go to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, which is what I recommend for all canning, not just pulling a card out of your great-great-grandma's you know, book and trying that, because food is different now, and that the National Center for Home Food Preservation is constantly testing recipes. Anyway, you could very easily like cook this down and make a jam out of it, like a preserve, like a spreadable preserve. But you probably want to chop it up, because the fibers, the cellulose fibers, are kind of it's not like a fruit that you can smash easily. It's got a lot of fiber, so I'd probably chop it up, and then you could absolutely do it. Oh, and I was going to say about, if you're following a recipe and it calls for vinegar, you always use 5% acidity vinegar. Like white vinegar is always 5% acidity. Don't substitute something like rice vinegar, because it's only 2.5%. It's half as acid. And pH is the most important thing when you are canning. And then also, if it calls for lemon juice, you use bottled lemon juice. Now that's the only thing I use bottled lemon juice for, because to me it doesn't taste very good. But the reason you're adding the bottled lemon juice to the recipes on that site is because that's been tested, and that is a certain percentage of acidity. It's, 5-ish% acidity. Whereas if you take a fresh lemon and you squeeze it, you don't know if that tree was overwatered or if they didn't cull the fruit. If they didn't take off half the fruit, there's going to be less acid in each individual fruit, because there's going to be twice as many fruit that, the nutrients get into. So the variability of a fresh lemon is not the same as a canned lemon. As the little Real Lemon or whatever store brand squeezable little plastic lemon, that's the lemon that you use for canning. So just keep that in mind if you're going to can this guy into jam. If it calls for lemon juice, use the canned lemon. That's the only thing I use it for, because otherwise it doesn't taste great. And a fresh lemon, there's nothing like it. So.
And then another one, are there any alcoholic drinks that you can make from these fruits?
Oh my gosh. I'll have to let you know there are some children on this call. So children, do not try this at home until you are 21 years old. But absolutely, this would be really great to make like, any kind of like fruit martinis. You could blend this up with like pineapple juice or something like that. It'd be great with like coconut rum or something. Anything that you would do with tropical, this has that tropical, beautiful flavor. So you could very easily incorporate this with like, my dad he's a dark rum drinker. I buy him like the expensive, bottle in the leather case. I don't even know the name of it. It's just when he comes to town, that's what I get for him. And I'll make him all kinds of like the tropically fruitiest fruit. It has to have like, I put like crazy straws in it and like little people on surfboards and umbrella. My dad loves the froofiest drink. If it's got whipped cream, it's even better. And so that kind of gives me an idea of that question, that I'll probably make him something with this next time he comes to town.
Great. And someone wants to know, where did you get that? Where can you buy it here in town?
Okay, as an extension professional, I am not promoting any particular brand, but I am telling you that I went to H Mart, because if you haven't been to H Mart, they've got like one of the greatest produce departments. You will find some of the weirdest stuff in there. And I'm the resident food nerd around here, and I love learning about stuff I've never seen before. So I took all kinds of pictures of different kinds of greens that I hadn't seen before. I also took a picture of a winged bean. I'm excited to research that and see what that's all about. I love weird produce departments. A lot of times when it comes to, you go down a food aisle, and if English or a language that you don't read is on the package, a lot of times you don't know like how to look it up, or what you would use it for. But when it's a fresh vegetable or a fruit, it's much easier to research and to process that item, because the item is the number one ingredient. You don't have to worry about any kind of additives or anything like that. But they have like these huge squashes, and I found a Korean squash. I'm going to find out what that is and cut it open and see what the seeds look like. So it's just kind of an adventure. So H Mart is great. Grand Asia is great. Where else? Shilla Market also has a decent one, but that's kind of a smaller one. But if you just put in your little search bar of Google Maps or Apple Maps or MapQuest or whatever you use, and you just put Asian markets and search this area, fortunately we have like a really diverse population of all different kinds of cultures here in the Triangle. We're really lucky, because if you're looking for specifically Pakistani ingredients, you can find it. If you're looking specifically for, East Asian, certain kind of like dal, like a urad dal to cook with or something, you can find a shop that caters just to that. So we're really, really lucky, mainly because of Research Triangle Park. We have a large immigrant population here, and they've brought their foods, and their families have like opened up stores where you can buy stuff that's very much of that culture. So, but H Mart's, it's a fun one. Check it out.
And last question about this before we have a question about Chayote from last week. So last one about these fruits, are they summertime fruits, and how long do they take to fully develop?
Are they summertime fruits? Okay, so these guys, my little lychee and my longan, these are summer fruits. And in our hemisphere, they're usually available between May and July. June and July mostly, but it's May almost to August in our hemisphere. And then if you do the math, it's the opposite in the southern hemisphere. They call this guy the winter lychee, the rambutan. They call this a winter lychee because in our hemisphere, it actually comes out in the winter, which winter, it really means rainy season. If you're anywhere where this grows, it's going to be where it rains more, the days are a little bit shorter, but it's not like truly winter. There's not, you know, basically like Santa's going to have an aloha shirt on. It's, you know, there's not going to be any snow and, you know, whatnot. So, but yeah, they call this the winter lychee. But because we have, thankfully, we're real lucky as humans, we have this global food system where, you know, certain things grow at certain times, you know, like for instance, you know, the fact that we can get strawberries in February, you know, that's one of like the most romantical gifts is to get some chocolate dipped strawberries. And that would not be possible if we were eating locally. Strawberries are ripe right now, you know, here in North Carolina. They would be more like a Mother's Day gift then, but because we get them from the Southern Hemisphere during that time, or we grow them in hot houses, you can actually get things. The only vegetable that I know of, and I usually test people on this, but I won't because, you know, we're having a conversation. The only actually two things that you can see in the produce department when you walk in and you know what season it is are pumpkins. When you walk in and you see the pumpkins in the gourds, that's the only time of the year that they're there. That's the only time there's a market for them. If there was a market for pumpkin year round, we'd be getting pumpkins year round from other hemispheres, but there's not. So when you walk in, it's sort of like the feeling of fall and the feeling of the beginning of the holiday season just by looking at the produce department. But any other time during the year, I mean, you can get a watermelon in January. You're gonna pay a lot more for it and probably isn't gonna taste as good, but you can get it. And so, you know, these take probably a month to ripen once they're on the tree, a month to 2 months. Same thing with these guys. But because we have a global food system where things can fly around, you know, a good probably 6-8 months out of the year, you can get these fruits.
All right, you have 1 minute to answer this last question.
Okay, I'll be
After
fast.
last week's meeting, I bought a chayote. Will you remind us how to prepare?
I'll remind you how to prepare it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So remember, for those of you that weren't here, it kind of looks like a really light avocado. Okay, so you can slice it right down the middle. There's a lot of ways you can do it. Slice it right down the middle, take the seed out, stuff it with like a crab cake mix, bake it. There's one dish. Another one, you can slice it really thin or into sticks and dip it in ranch and eat it raw. Or you can slice it thin and put it in a salad, or grate it and make a slaw out of it. Or you can cut it into cubes and saute it just like summer squash, and finish it with a little butter and fresh basil or whatever spices you have in your cabinet. You can cut it up, fry it up with an onion and make like a little stew out of it, pop that in there. Any way pretty much that you would use a zucchini, you can use a chayote squash. It's just a little bit more crisp and juicy in comparison to a zucchini, which zucchinis tend to be a little bit drier and less juicy until you cook them. And you don't usually eat zucchini raw. Some people do. Some people love it raw. I don't really like it raw, but don't let that stop you. Some people love it. But I like chayote raw because it's like very crisp. So you can use it how you would use a zucchini, or you can use it how you like how you would use a cucumber, because it's in that same family. It's almost like a cross section between the two. So there's a few ideas.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is our last, I guess that was our last question. So we will look forward to seeing you all again next week with another mysterious fruit or vegetable.
I can't wait. Thank you, everyone. This was lovely. I really appreciate it. And for my seeds kids out there, whoever's watching, I'm going to bring you some fruits and we'll try them tomorrow. And then next week, I'll bring you the fruits ahead of time and you can watch this and sample them at the same time. So thank you, everyone.